Three's Company was an iconic sitcom in the late 70s and early 80s, starring John Ritter, Joyce DeWitt, Suzanne Somers, and later Priscilla Barnes and Jenilee Harrison, as three single roommates who shared a Santa Monica apartment and frequently got into all kinds of hilarious misunderstandings. The sitcom was based on a British sitcom called Man About the House, and it ran for 8 seasons on ABC from 1977 through 1984. Behind the scenes, there were many secrets, scandals, mistakes, and bloopers you may not know about. In this video, we'll reveal some of the most surprising facts about the show that'll make you see this beloved sitcom in a whole new light. Facts First presents This Photo Is Not Edited. Look closer at the Three's Company blooper. The Wardrobe Malfunction. According to Snopes, actor John Ritter's family jewels were briefly visible in a now notorious episode of Three's Company called The Charming Stranger, which initially aired December 20th, 1983. The scene happened when Jack Tripper was dressed in bright blue boxers and flopped down on the bed, exposing some things that probably shouldn't be seen on TV. The blooper went unnoticed for many years until an eagle-eyed viewer alerted Nickelodeon, which was rerunning old episodes, in March of 2001. Nickelodeon confirmed the slip-up and said it would edit it out from future repeats. John Ritter himself laughed off the incident and explained why it was missed for so long during an appearance on Conan O'Brien's late-night show. The Not-So-Hidden Crew. In Season 8, Episode 2, She Loves Me, She Loves Me Not, shortly after Jack chats with Larry about a magazine quiz, Jack asks Janet if something is troubling her. While Terry is seen leaving the kitchen with 2 cans in her hand, a crew member's hand can clearly be seen behind Terry, placing a very noticeable bag on the countertop. The Changing Apartment Number. In the pilot of the show, Jack moves into an apartment 201 with Janet and Chrissy. However, in later episodes, their apartment number changes to 201A. This is because ABC execs thought viewers would confuse 201 with a room number rather than an apartment number. The Case of the Giggles. In Season 5, Episode 17, And Baby Makes 4, when Cindy expresses frustration by saying, "Why doesn't anyone give me credit for knowing what I'm doing?" Jack snarkily retorts, "Well, you keep bumping into things." As soon as John says this, Joyce can't help but break character and laugh. To cover this up, she shields her face with her hands and bends over, while Cindy tries her best to hold back her own laughter and carry on with the scene. The Teleporting Scarf. In Season 2, Episode 14, Three's Christmas, right after the trio wraps up opening their presents, Jack makes his way to the kitchen to find Chrissy visibly upset with a scarf over her shoulders. From the other room, Janet asks what's wrong. When the camera cuts back to the kitchen, we're given a close-up of Chrissy with the scarf now sitting on her lap. The Tragic Death. John Ritter was not only the star of Three's Company, but also one of its producers and writers. He was beloved by fans and colleagues alike for his comedic talent and warm personality. Sadly, he died unexpectedly September 11, 2003, from an undiagnosed heart condition while filming his new sitcom 8 Simple Rules. He was only 54. The Forgotten Car. In the Season 8 episode Forget Me Not, Janet tells Jack that the car Larry is delivering to her is her very first car. But just 5 episodes earlier, in Itching for Trouble, Janet is asked by Moose if they had a football that needed any air, to which she replies by saying no, but one of the tires on her car was a bit low. The Questionable Terminology. In Season 4, Episode 1, Jack on the Lam, Jack uses the term AWOL, or absent without leave, but since Jack supposedly served in the Navy, he would have probably used the more commonly used term, UA, instead, which is short for unauthorized absence. The Recycled Set. In Season 7, Episode 8, An Affair to Forget, Jack falls for a woman named Randy, who later turns out to be married. When Jack visits Randy's apartment, it looks very familiar. That's because it was the same set used for Janet's flower shop in previous episodes. The Flip-Flopping Doorknob. The doorbell of the Three's apartment was usually shown to be on the left, but sometimes when the plot points called for it, it appeared on the right-hand side of the door. Likewise, the doorbell chime box inside the trio's apartment was initially placed above the kitchen, but in later episodes it can clearly be seen above the front door. The spin-off flops. Three's Company had two spin-offs, The Ropers and Three's a Crowd. The Ropers followed the adventures of Mr. and Mr. Roper after they moved to a new condominium complex managed by their snooty neighbor, Jeffrey Potts, played by Jeffrey Tambor. Three's a Crowd followed Jack after he moved in with his girlfriend Vicky Bradford, played by Mary Carteret, and had to deal with her meddling father James Bradford, played by Robert Mandan. Both spin-offs were short-lived and failed to match the popularity of Three's Company. The Unauthorized Story. In 2003, NBC aired a TV movie called Behind the Camera, The Unauthorized Story of Three's Company. The movie dramatized the behind-the-scenes conflicts and controversies that plagued the show, such as Suzanne Somers' salary dispute, John Ritter's creative differences with the producers, and Joyce DeWitt's feud with Somers. DeWitt served as a co-producer and host of the movie, while Ritter saw the final cut before he died. Somers was also contacted and gave some input. The Wrong Door. In Season 4, Episode 18, Handcuffed, Chrissy's cop cousin informs her and the roommates that there was a complaint lodged by one of the neighbors about her husband being on the roof watching the girls dance in the apartment with a pair of binoculars. However, when the girls were actually dancing, the thick drapes were closed, and the front door was also closed. So how on earth could such a complaint have even been filed in the first place? The Missing Brother. Jack has a brother named Lee in later episodes, but a couple of years before he was introduced, Jack's uncle came to visit and referred to Jack as his favorite nephew. Jack responded to this compliment by saying he was his only nephew. Jack's uncle replied to this factual comment by saying, quote, "That never stopped you from being my favorite." The Duplicating Cans. In the second season episode, Strange Bedfellows, Mr. Roper attempts to explain to the girls and his nosy wife what he was up to in Jack's bedroom. If you watch the scene closely, paying special attention to what's going on right above Mr. Roper's left shoulder, you'll notice that the number of yellow cans on the shelf keeps switching from 1 to 2 cans. Additionally, you can also notice the suitcase on the floor has a square silver bag placed in front of it whenever 2 yellow cans are present. The Equal Pay Fight. Suzanne Somers was one of the most popular stars of the show thanks to her portrayal of ditzy blonde Chrissy Snow. However, she was vastly underpaid compared to her male co-stars. Because of this, she asked for a raise from $30,000 per episode to $150,000 to match what John Ritter was getting. Not only were her demands rejected by ABC and the producers, they immediately fired her. She was still contractually obligated to finish out Season 5, but she was then replaced by Jenilee Harrison as Cindy Snow. The firing caused a rift between her and her co-stars Joyce DeWitt and John Ritter that lasted for decades. The Early Bird. In the episode Not So Great Imposter, which aired in the 5th season, Mr. Angelino enters the kitchen and mentions that steaks are needed for 8 guests. If you look behind him at the window in the kitchen door, you can see Janet watching intently as if she were waiting for her cue to enter the scene. Just as soon as you can spot her, however, she ducks out of sight. A moment later, she can be seen once again when Angelino asks Felipe to give him a hand in the freezer. She runs through the door with Furley as if they had just shown up. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you know of any other notable bloopers from Three's Company? Let us know in the comments section below.